Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about my journeys through some job transitioning and how I've always landed to the next job, some of the tips I picked up along the way. Before we get to the content, please be sure to like this video, subscribe so you can get more content in oil and gas and in professional development topics, and be sure to comment on this video so that I can incorporate your feedback into future videos. Well, I hope you enjoy the content. Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about how I survived 2 transitions and landed successfully in them. And hopefully you can learn some of these tips as well. When I graduated from university, I started working for an oil and gas company out in Midland. I was extremely excited to be a company man on location where I looked after workover rigs, I did some frac, and I pumped for a little bit. Well, later on, I learned that the company office was going to close in Midland. Once I learned about that, I immediately went to work. I reached out to as many people as possible, asking if there were any entry-level positions for someone like myself, as I had about 1 year of work experience. I also beefed up my resume and reached out to a couple mentors on what I can do in the event of a potential transition. Once the field office was closed, I moved back to Houston and I hit the floor running. I did something every single day. I went to a Society of Petroleum Engineers event. I reached out to somebody for coffee or for lunch. I went to a Members in Transition event to learn how to survive a transition. I was doing something to develop myself professionally from Monday through Friday. And the funny part is I was putting in more hours in searching for a job than your actual full-time 40-hour week. It was pretty interesting to say the least. It all paid off. One of my emails was to a university professor, and she sent me a business card of the CEO for another company that I eventually would work for. I was thinking that this person was looking for internship opportunities because when he was recruiting at UT, he was recruiting for interns. So I thought I'd take a chance. Sent him an email, and I let him know about all my experiences in the field as well as my involvement with SPE, Society of Petroleum Engineers, and I attached my resume. And he invited me for an interview. During the interview, we clicked. And we had a great conversation. But at the end of the interview, I thanked him for the internship interview. He gave me a weird look and said, "This is a full-time opportunity." Needless to say, the interview still went well. We parted ways, and within a week, I got the opportunity. He wanted me to be on the team. Things that worked in this specific instance from transitioning from one job to another was that I reached out to as many people as possible and I was doing something every single day. And I hope you guys can take a couple of those tips when I talk about the next opportunity. I worked for this company for a couple of years, this new company, and when oil prices started picking back up in 2018, I wanted to take advantage of working for an oil and gas company again. But I also learned that the company that I was working for was going to shut down in a couple of months. Go figure. However, there was something that I was doing on the side that benefited me to land my next opportunity. I was continuing to volunteer for SPE. I was volunteering for a conference. I was on the conference committee, and I was going to present a paper. There was a breakfast session in one of the conference days that was sold out, but I still showed up in the event that there were any waitlisted spots that were available. And they were. One of the spots that were available was sitting next to a gentleman that ended up being my future boss in the company that I currently work for today. When I talked to him, we exchanged business cards and I did my standard networking. I introduced myself and I let him know that I was presenting a paper and the work that I was doing is related to the acreage that the company that I currently work for is also owns. 6 months later, which was the end of the 6 months later after that conference, that's when I reached out to him for any opportunities. And because I maintained that relationship and I kept his business card, he reached out to me and said, well, we have a reservoir engineering position available. Is this something that you might be interested in? If so, we can set up an interview. So after a couple rounds of interviews, I was privileged to get the opportunity to work for the company that I do today. Things that worked in this situation were maintaining relationships and making sure that I was continuing to network and expand my network, even if I was working. You never know who you're going to meet, and the oil and gas industry is a very small world. Because it's a very small world, make sure to leave a good impression. And I made sure to leave a good impression after every single person that I've met. Well, that's a wrap, and I hope that gives you some idea of how to survive a couple of transitions. And again, this is just one story, or two stories to say the least. I hope you like this video. Subscribe for more content in oil and gas and professional development topics, and be sure to comment on the video so that I can incorporate your feedback into future videos and include some of the topics that you suggest. I hope you guys have a splendid day, and I'll see you in the next video.